They are awful.
Hey, welcome to
Hey,
Game Club,
welcome to
where
Game
we're
Club.
totally not talking about how the atrocity of literature that is Twilight.
There's a new book. Get excited, everyone.
Book's strong term.
They are books.
It's
You
pages
can't.
bound together.
You don't get to be a dick about calling it a book.
It's words on paper. Whether it's readable is...
You're right. It is.
It is
another
actually
debate.
legible. I mean, whether or not it's enjoyable
How would
would be up
I
for
know? I've never
debate.
opened it.
Yeah, see? You don't even know.
I don't. I got to be honest. Yeah, I got tricked into seeing the first movie, and that
They're
was such
terrible.
Oh,
the movies
God.
are horrible. The
That
books
was
aren't
so
that great
bad.
either, but they're great beach read. Which we should have a patch reading club. Maybe a book club.
If we could just find a day to
Reading
shoot it.
club.
The
Patch
video,
reading time.
The video game... Wait, the book game club book club?
Yes.
Patch
We'd call that
video
one the
game
Game
book
Club.
club, book
We
club.
call this one the Book Club. We kind of transpose it. So this week we're going to talk about The Vanishing of Ethan Carter,
Yes.
which is a fairly kind of small game from The Astronauts was the name of the company.
Yeah, is this their first game?
I
I'm gonna
believe
look it
so.
up.
It is a psychological horror game.
You know, I don't. Would you call it
Puzzle.
a horror game?
Puzzler
I'd call
horror
it-
game?
Yeah,
Puzzle,
I'd call it like
sorta?
a mystery puzzle game.
Thriller, maybe?
The setup is that you are a psychological or paranormal investigator, essentially,
Yes.
named Paul Prospero. And you have received a letter from a young boy named Ethan Carter in a town, Red Valley.
They also do Soma.
Soma. Yeah, they also
Oh,
did
that's
Soma,
their
really?
new. That's a new game.
Yeah, that's
Their
the.
new game is
That's
Soma.
the new hotness. That
Ooh,
everybody's
yeah, I'm
talking
looking forward to
about.
checking that one out, especially now. But so you arrive in the town and you kind of just have to sort of investigate what's going on. Town is a really loose term for this because it's only. It seems like it's only populated by like 6 people.
And Her
Small
Story?
village.
Well, it
They
was-
did Her Story also.
Really?
I think so. Well, I mean, it's on their website.
Her
so-
Story is one guy, so maybe it's one guy from their team.
Or maybe they're like co-promoting other indie games. I'm gonna keep looking
I like
at
the
that
idea.
really
Like
quickly.
we hired that guy. Oh yeah, we made Her Story too.
Yeah, we made this.
the entire production team is on
If
our
I
staff.
hired him, my only thing that he would have to do, I can't think of the word that I was thinking there, but my only stipulation would be he has to tell me the actual ending for Her Story. You can have a job, but you got to tell me what the right ending is on Her Story.
I bet he'd walk away.
Oh, he would not.
Oh, he'd walk away.
No, he wouldn't.
What job would you be giving him there, Miss Turney?
Give him all sorts of jobs. Walk into that joke. Let's talk about a young boy named Ethan Carter.
Right. So he's said that there's something bad going down in what's I keep saying town. It's a property that has been in a family and someone inherited it. It's a very rich family's property, and the Carter family are the caretakers of it. At least that's what's revealed on a piece of newspaper that you find. And it's very much just an environmental sort of walk around, explore kind of game, but it does have a very dark take. So one of the first things you encounter is some
A murder
traps that are-
scene.
Well, the murder scene, yeah, but if you walk around in that first area, which is very easy to miss, but there are actually traps around the first area you walk in. That's kind of, there's only a couple like jump scary parts of it, and that was kind of the first one where there's 4 traps, and if you find them all, you find out a
It's
story.
5,
about,
right?
Is it 5?
I think so. And there's
Okay.
there's the short story
Right.
that Ethan writes, and then there's also a newspaper clipping right by it.
Right. Yeah, basically every puzzle in the game is accompanied by a story that Ethan has written. He's a very prolific writer for a younger boy. And all of the stories are typically related to the scenes that you're investigating, except for the first murder, I think. There wasn't really a story behind that one, was there?
Not as such.
The first one you come up on is the guy that's had his legs chopped off by a train, that's literally like the first thing you encounter is a guy with no legs.
Super gross.
Uh,
Blood everywhere.
But it's a really interesting
Trains
kind
will
of
do that.
like mystery setup because you find the train and you notice that there's blood on the train, and then it has kind of this almost like the if you saw Sherlock, the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, Batch. How he'd have one of those things where like words would kind of fly around. You're like, oh, this is my thought process of looking at this object, and then it would have sort of a psychological, a paranormal aspect of he has sort of the ability to psychically locate items. So it would say, oh, so you find the train and it's like there's a crank missing on the front, and it's like crank, and then you look around, and as the word crank is kind of flying around, and as it coalesces into a single word, you get a vision of where that crank can be found.
Yeah, it's a cool mechanic because the words are all scattered, but then as you like change the way you're facing, as you get to like hone in on the direction that the object is, then it all comes together, locks in, and shows you a preview of where it is. So that was actually a really cool mechanic of kind of helping you figure out where to start looking for things without spelling it all out for you.
Yeah, the puzzle aspect of this game is not really brain intensive in most cases. Like it's, I mean, you pretty much are led to most of the answers without having to do too much heavy lifting.
Because it's mostly story driven, right? Like
Sorta, yeah.
like it's not a prolific story by any means,
No.
but it is kind of a twisty turny, not sure what's happening until the very, very end type story.
In the canon of gaming, I would say it was more like a short story if
Yeah.
you were to compare it to books, not like Twilight.
Books.
But so you've kind of unraveled the mystery of this town, and again, there's stories that Ethan has written associated with most of the paranormal effects that you encounter. At one point, there's like an astronaut that you run into, and you fly out into
astronaut's
space.
crazy. That's when I encountered an astronaut in the middle of the forest, I was like, "What is going on now? This is just weird."
Do you think that's like a wink and a nod to their name?
I figured that was a nod to the developer.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they tipped their hand a little bit too much with the astronaut? Because that's basically the whole game is asynchronous. You don't have to do anything in any particular order, but it is very linear in the way that you will most likely discover things. And the astronaut is like the second thing that you encounter, and I almost feel like that tips kind of the ending of the game off.
You think
a
it makes
little
it
early.
too obvious?
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
it is pretty. It's outside of reality. It's very surreal. It's disconnected. At first, I was trying to figure out if there was like because of there had been a very concrete murder that I just
Right.
solved. I was very proud of myself. There's this astronaut, and I'm going. Are there actually astronauts?
Yeah, well,
It took me a
because
minute to
It's
figure
the
out
ghost
if
of a cosmonaut
if
here
it was
all of a
that,
sudden.
or if it was this sort of like surreal, disconnected experience, which is what I ended up like deciding on. But
Yeah.
for a little while, I was trying to figure out if there was actually space stuff going on.
Well,
too.
that's the thing about games. You never know where the line of reality actually is in the game. Like, is magic real? Is the paranormal stuff real? So that's what's kind of neat about this game is it plays with reality in that you find at the end that everything is not real. Like, there is
Right.
no reality whatsoever.
Nothing that
You're
you've
not even
encountered,
real.
Yeah. And I guess that's the other mechanic that is worth mentioning is the way that you, as the Paul, kind of investigate a scene is you have to return everything to its initial position, and once you've done that, once you've pieced it all back together to how it started, you can kind of view the psychic past. You can see how it all unfolded.
Well, and it's cool too that it gives you the individual pieces there, but then you have to go through and decide what order those vignettes happened in.
Right. And once
Which
you
is
piece
cool.
them all together, then it plays as a contiguous scene.
I did have a lot of fun with that, of looking at what was going on and then trying to decide what happened in what order and what that meant was going on. I felt like Encyclopedia Brown, Nancy Drew, take your pick. I felt like all of them.
Yeah, it was really fun because you look at all these vignettes and you're like, okay, so the lamp, she's got the lamp in this one, but not in that one. And there's she's got the rock here, but not there. And kind of you have to follow the chain of events and use that to kind of help clue you in on how to do it. But it's really forgiving. I mean, if you enter the wrong thing, it just stops playing. You're like, okay, I guess that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you go through the town, kind of you're following the trail of Ethan Carter, trying to find him. And you come across various members of his family who have apparently been trying to kill him because of he awoke a sleeper, the sleeper, which is
Some sort of malevolent spirit.
yeah, it's tied into like there's a story of a like a crotchety old man that lived in the town who had a secret room. Like he used to be a moonshiner, but also sometimes referred to as kind of like a wizard or a potioner. And he had a secret room that when the house burned down, the room didn't. And Ethan apparently played in this room, and then all of a sudden everyone is infected with this desire to sacrifice Ethan to the sleeper.
Yeah.
So you're following his footsteps, trying to track him down.
But
and
even putting that much together takes a while.
it does,
Like
yeah.
the first thing you encounter, aside from the short story, is Ethan tied to a train track. Mm-hmm. And going, what is going on? Why is there a kid tied to a train track? You don't know any of that, and it comes out later. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It's just something really messed up is going on.
Yeah.
It comes together kind of slowly, but it's cool as it does.
It's only 7-8 puzzles long, really. And yeah, by the time you get to the end of it, what you discover is that this whole experience, everything that you've played, is basically the dying fantasy of Ethan Carter. He was just in a very ordinary domestic situation where he had kind of an abusive family and they caught him somewhere he shouldn't have been and they accidentally set a fire and he was stuck in a room that he couldn't get out of and he slowly asphyxiates from smoke inhalation. And so everything, including the narrator character, has just been the last of his stories. And you even have a conversation with Ethan there at the end, basically saying, "Okay, it's okay to go. Like,
Yeah.
it's you can let go now." So, I mean, it's again not a long game,
Right.
but it was a fun one, and it's spooky. But if you're not a fan of jump scares, there's only one jump scare
It's just
part.
it's more haunting, I would say.
Yeah.
Or creepy. Not
Very
it's not
creepy.
even I wouldn't even say scary so much because I can tell you a scary game when I play one, and that was more creepy. I was kind of like with Gone Home when we played that. I was at the beginning like waiting for stuff to happen, and then it didn't really happen. You know, you're coming along after everything has happened, and you're all by yourself. So it's not scary in that way.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. It's the very same tone where it's spooky enough that you feel like at any moment something really bad could happen. And other than there's one part where you go down in the mines and there is a jump scare part where you encounter a monster that if he sees you, it's one of those like, oh, I'm in your face, I'm eating your face. But other than that, it is just a walkthrough experience. I've played other games that are very similar to that that just didn't involve you as much. Like the mechanics of this game, the hunting things, the puzzles, that really made it work for me so much better than the Rapture. Everybody's going to the Rapture. Sunset too, but everybody's going to the Rapture was
I think
kind
a lot of games work better than Sunset.
Yeah, God. Also, it's gorgeous. This game is just pretty.
So, which version did you play? Did you play the original version or the redo version?
I've played both.
Okay, I ended up playing the redo version, the one that was it was Unreal Engine 4.
They updated to UE4.
It was gorgeous.
It was
Absolutely
gorgeous before. I'm going to be honest. Whoever was the texture artist for this game, or one or many of them, amazing job. Just everything is so sharply, perfectly textured. And just the environments. What?
I just laugh because there's something people like. Everyone has their thing that they're like, "Oh, it's such great blah blah blah." Like yours is textures in games. Like yours, like such beautiful textures. I'm like, yes, pretty, but I would never be like, the textures are so nice.
Well, that's what sells it for me.
I'm on board though. It almost, in some ways, felt like the beauty of the game was wasted on the game.
You think so?
Like I could see a huge, like really ambitious game to look like that. There are a lot of AAA games that would kill to look as nice as this game did.
That's true. Well, I wonder if it only was able to look this good because it was not so huge in scope.
That's entirely possible.
I mean, it was essentially one fairly large contiguous area, but it wasn't multiple maps or anything. Though, I mean, there are multiple sections, but and in the original version, there were some load gaps between those, so you could tell a little bit better when you crossed between them.
Okay.
But in the Redux version, they fixed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just you walk through the woods, and the first thing you really do is you cross this train bridge, and you're just on a lake, and you can see where you're going, and like see just out into the mountains, and all of it just is amazing to look at. I just stood there for a while, looking.
I left the game for a little while. I just like had it over here, and I'd look over, going,
Looks good.
what? Like a Yule log video.
Yeah.
Really relaxing. Pretend I'm on vacation in the mountains.
What's the on Steam? I saw that there was downloadable content.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I think it was an upgrade to a collector's edition. I think is what the DLC was.
Okay. I just saw something. It was like download all DLC.
Yeah, I think that's what that was. But let me double check.
Tyler's telling me I was showing my belly off.
Yeah.
Show it off. Show it off. Show it off.
Yeah, there we go. There.
Work,
Now I'm decent again.
Work.
But yeah, overall, I definitely recommend the game.
It is expensive.
It's
for
expensive.
what it is.
expensive for the amount of time.
It's
expensive.
on Steam. It's $20,
Yeah.
which for a game that's gonna get you maybe 5 hours, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't just like jump into it, but it's a great game.
No,
It is.
So if you have the $20 to spare and you want to play it, then I think you'll enjoy it. Just, it's not going to be the most cost-efficient game.
I want to say that I agree that it's like expensive for what it is, but also I really like Journey, and Journey's what, $20 too?
Yeah.
$15, so I'm okay with it.
You're okay
but
with it.
I definitely, when I was going to load it, we had been talking like, this week's only 4 hours, and I went and I was like, $20! I was not thrilled.
Yeah. This game is actually based, well, it's not based on, but it's inspired by a short story. One of the first stories that was considered to be like an experiment in stream of consciousness called, An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Oh yeah, where the guy's getting hung.
A short story about a guy, a Confederate supporter who's being hung. He was caught.
Or hanged.
Hanged. How are
You
you?
knew the book off the top of your head?
Yeah, I know the story. Well, because
yeah.
you think the whole time, like, he
really cool.
escapes. Yeah, you think that, like, he gets away from the hanging and then he escapes and you're like, oh, I did it. And then he dies. And it's like, actually, he was just daydreaming in his last final moments of getting... Spoiler!
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You should have read it in high school.
No, it's a great short story, though, and it makes a lot of sense. I didn't know when I was playing the game that this was an inspiration, but it makes total sense because the first thing you encounter is he's gonna be hanged, and then you figure out why. You see the event that led to that, and then his escape followed by a sudden end. Like it's really it's very. It follows that same sort of path. Really cool.
Very cool. Also, a Twilight Zone episode. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a big Twilight Zone fan.
It's
Not
a
up
great
on my Twilight
theme.
Zone.
Oh, man.
The one thing
so
I'm curious, so in light of all of that, do you think the sleeper was Ethan?
That they want to sacrifice him to?
Well,
or that he awoke?
That's the whole thing, is the sleeper must not awake.
See, he woke-
Ethan is already at this point basically in the real world
So you think they're-
asleep.
They don't want to wake him up.
Essentially,
He doesn't want to wake up.
Yeah. Is it about him deciding? Well, it is essentially.
So it's about him
it's
just
sort of
deciding it's okay to die.
It's deciding to let go.
Well, yeah, and we tell him that.
And yeah, as the
narrator.
final character,
Yeah.
I'll let him do that. But the whole time, it's been the sleeper is the antagonist. I guess would be the
the thing we're
The
running away
villain?
from. And maybe the sleeper is death, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're trying
Deep.
to avoid death. The dog represents
Yeah, I can see it. Good game though.
yeah. Play
Let's
it.
pick a new one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Bring out the cylinder.
Trying to go slow, so
Trying to match pace.
in the middle. We did it.
What are we playing next?
I'm not looking. Yeah, we are playing Papers, Please.
Oh.
Oh
It's
my
a
God.
Gus suggestion.
Gus is
Go
gonna
figure.
be so happy. Gus
Slash me. That's like my favorite
Gus
game.
has a lot of suggestions in the cylinder.
We should all up our own suggestions, I think.
Yeah,
I think that
we
was
need to
my
compete.
only one. Was Vanishing Ethan.
Really?
I need to put
Yeah.
some more in there.
You're gonna come up with a new one now.
I am.
I
Right.
I got Unfair Swan was my one pick. Oh, and
You
Sunset
did.
though.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
You're 50-50.
internet.
We're gonna blame you forever for that one.
No,
Yeah.
Papers, Please is so exciting. I love this game. It's really good. There's a ton of endings you can get. It's fun.
All right,
You're
well,
gonna
we'll
like
check
it.
that out next week. Join us then for
Find out if
Papers,
the rest of us
Please.
like it as much as you and Gus
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's on the iPad.
Well, no, one of them had a beard. One of them didn't.
Yeah.
One of them had a beard?
Yes.
That's how you know he's evil? He has a beard?
He was the no beard one.
So barefaced is evil.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Okay.
That was Lieutenant Riker versus
All right.
Commander Riker.
I'm
I'm
gonna-
sorry. Let's get back to gaming.